Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving right into a fascinating and, frankly, pretty frustrating tension between high-level policy and on-the-ground reality. We talk a lot about education reform from the top down, right? Massive budgets, national policies, grand sweeping strategies. But what actually happens when those towering mandates crash into the daily messy reality of a local head teacher?
Well, picture this staggering reality for a second. Over 70% of children in Nigeria are not achieving basic literacy and numeracy by age 10. 70%. When you're looking at a number that daunting, you really have to ask yourself who is actually supposed to fix this. Is it the state, the teachers, or is it the school leaders who are caught squarely in the middle of all these systemic failures? To figure out how we tackle this, we're unpacking this highly detailed UNESCO background paper. It focuses specifically on primary education leadership in Kaduna State, Nigeria. It was actually commissioned for the 2025 Spotlight Report, and let me tell you, it gives us an incredibly granular look at the intense friction between what head teachers are told to do and the actual resources they have to get it done. So, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the learning crisis, Kaduna's education landscape, the clash of mandate versus reality, data-driven reforms, and finally, empowering school leaders. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The Learning Crisis and Understanding the Foundational Deficit.
It's absolutely crucial to understand the historical context here. Back in 2014, average student test scores were hovering at a really dismal 21 to 34%. But here's the kicker. The teacher data was even more alarming. Overall teacher competence had fallen to just 62%. The average teacher was correctly answering only 1 in 5 primary-level English questions. When the foundation is quite literally that fragile, head teachers are facing a massive uphill battle before the morning bell even rings.
Moving to Section 2, Kaduna's education landscape. It's a wildly complex, pluralistic ecosystem. Kaduna is brilliantly diverse, which means its educational landscape is highly fragmented. You've got standard public universal basic education schools sitting right alongside elite private academies and low-cost community options. Add to that a massive network of faith-based institutions like traditional Quranic or Almajiri schools, plus Christian mission schools. Any systemic reform here has to be flexible enough to adapt to vastly different types of governance, funding, and community expectations. It's like a giant puzzle.
Now, to tackle a huge problem, over 768,000 out-of-school children, Kaduna launched the Reaching Out-of-School Children project, and they backed it up with a massive $62.8 million blended finance package. But this isn't your standard grant, guys. It's a results-linked model. The catch here is that disbursements are tied directly to actual results. If they don't hit their targets, the funds can be withheld. For local school leaders, the financial stakes have literally never been higher. That brings us to Section 3. Mandate versus reality, or what we can call the administrative trap. Okay, here is the core conflict of our explainer. Policies constantly demand that head teachers act as visionary instructional leaders. But the reality? They're drowning in paperwork. Nearly 40% of their time is just eaten up by administrative firefighting, filling out registers, dealing with compliance. Only 15% is actually dedicated to supporting teachers. And to make it even crazier, because of severe staff shortages, 92% of these head teachers still have to manage their own full-time teaching loads. It is a total logistical nightmare.
And when you contrast the daily environments they operate in, the systemic inequities just jump right out at you. An urban head teacher might be struggling with massively overcrowded classrooms, sure, but they generally have solid buildings and can easily reach local authorities. Meanwhile, a rural head teacher might be out there managing dilapidated, unfenced facilities, lacking basic water or electricity, and juggling multi-grade teaching. Yet, and this is wild, head teachers in both settings are held to the exact same rigorous learning standards.
Listen to this quote from a local head teacher because it just hits the nail on the head. No one queries you if students can't read, but you'll hear it if your records are incomplete. Wow. That right there perfectly summarizes the skewed bureaucratic incentives that plagued this system for years. Inspections used to just be compliance checks. If your logbooks looked neat, you passed. It created a culture where actual teaching was just pushed to the back burner.
All right, shifting gears to Section 4, data-driven reforms, and how they are shifting the focus back to learning.
So by adopting modern methods, the state is finally handing educators the tools they need to focus on how students actually learn. They're bringing in things like Jolly Phonics for early reading. But the real game changer is assessment-informed instruction, or AAI.
It trains leaders to assess student understanding in real time, letting them adjust their lessons on the fly, rather than waiting for some end-of-term exam to finally realize half the class fell behind.
And guess what? The data absolutely proves this works. One intervention using this assessment-informed approach resulted in a massive 43.1-point jump in literacy scores. That's incredible! By forming collaborative networks where head teachers and teachers look at data together and experiment with solutions, the results were just undeniable. It sends a very clear message: data-driven teaching dramatically improves outcomes.
Now, to make sure these new habits actually stick, the government did something super smart. They tossed out those dusty paper records and rolled out a tech-enabled oversight flow. This actually tripled the number of documented support visits. Support officers now act as coaches, not just scary inspectors. They observe lessons and input data right into tablets using an app. And because it uses GPS timestamps, the state knows exactly who is getting support, which prevents fake visits and feeds real-time intel right into a central dashboard.
Which brings us to our final stop. Section 5, Empowering School Leaders and Rebuilding Accountability. Instead of an inspector just dropping by to check if the schoolyard is swept, this new appraisal system fundamentally changes the game. A head teacher's career now depends on objective data. Are support officers actually noting better teaching? Are standardized exam scores going up? And crucially, is the head teacher assessing their own weaknesses? It's a huge cultural shift away from fault-finding toward a genuine culture of assess to support.
So why does this all matter to us? Because real, lasting reform requires mutual accountability. Everyone has skin in the game. It means replacing the old political patronage with actual performance contracts and deep community integration. If a school is failing now, it's no longer just the head teacher taking the blame. It triggers a joint action plan where everyone, from local officials to parents on the management committee, has to step up. I want to leave you with this final question to really chew on. Kaduna State is taking some truly incredible strides to professionalize leadership and drive up learning. But as long as these dedicated head teachers are out there battling severe resource shortages and immense administrative burdens, a gap is going to remain. If we demand excellence from our educational leaders, are we actually prepared to build the ecosystems that give them quality conditions? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning how we can build better systems for the future.